Okay, so I think we will start. So I'm going to introduce you to Angelique, who is the presenter today, and she's going to be talking you through foraging.
Great, okay. Thank you, Chris, for that introduction, and thank you very much, Transition Stirling, for this opportunity. And thank you, everybody, for logging in today and sharing your time. So I'm going to share my screen. So welcome to Mindful Foraging. Okay, because this is a mindful foraging workshop, we'll just start with a bit of mindfulness. It's nothing too serious. I'd just like you to sort of come into the moment really and be here with what's happening now. If you've got any thoughts in your head about your lunch, what you're going to have for lunch, or are your kids, going in all right, so any thoughts that you've got on your mind at the moment, if you can just put them to the side and be here with us in the moment. And all of the people that are joining us online, may we ask any questions that we need to ask, and maybe learn whatever it is that we need to learn today. Great. Okay. So, yeah, you can also follow me on social media and check out my blog for more information and be open to new ideas. If you would like to commit to learning one new plant and doing your best to forage mindfully, you are welcome to write "I commit" in the chat box if you want to do that, or if you don't want to do that, that's absolutely fine. And if you stay until the end, you'll receive 2 freebies. Right. So during this presentation, you will learn how to understand reciprocity and how it works with our relationship with plants. You will remember at least one way to give back to nature when foraging, and you'll get to know at least one plant. So this is the outline for today. And the disclaimer. So all of this information that I provide today on behalf of Invest in Plants and myself are for educational and informational purposes only. I'm not a health practitioner, so if you do need to treat a personal illness or have health issues, please see your GP. So using this information is done at your own risk. So now that I've got that out of the way, we can carry on. So I set up Invest in Plants last year, and I came up with the name Invest in Plants because I want people to invest in plants, not just with their money, but with their time, their attention, and their love. I have a background in teaching, working with botanists in the UK and also in New Zealand. I love taking people out to local parks in Stirling in Scotland, showing them what plants they can eat. And I am from New Zealand and have Māori heritage, but I was not brought up in Māori culture. So, why foraging? If you learn how to forage, you'll be eating with the seasons, and you'll be eating the nutrients that the plants have to offer you for all the different seasons. You're eating fresh food, so it hasn't traveled for a long time from a different country, lots of transport, it's fresh, so it's got high nutrient value in it. You'll find a way to reconnect with nature, and it comes with no packaging, so you're not left with like plastic bags or plastic packaging or anything. The only packaging you have is like maybe the outside of a nut or something. The only energy used to transport and create the food is your own energy. And you can teach your kids, friends, family, or anyone whatever you learn about foraging. You'll get to learn different flavors as well. So there are lots of different flavors from forage foods, really unusual and interesting flavors that you just wouldn't get if you went to the supermarket. And also you will increase the diversity in your diet. So you're eating from a much wider range of plant species than you would get from the plants that you get in the supermarket. And you come to realize that we are actually part of nature, not separate from it. So how did it start? In New Zealand, I attended courses on rongoa Māori, which is the Māori medicinal uses of New Zealand plants. I did that by Te Toki Education, and a man called Rob McGowan. His Māori name is Pa Ropata. And when we went into the bush or the forest, we would say a little karakia or a prayer, kind of what we did at the start of the session. So it doesn't necessarily have to be anything religious, but just some words to bring you into the moment, to make you present and aware of, I guess, how to treat the forest with respect. So we were out there and we were harvesting the plants because we wanted to learn what all the different plant names were and the uses of them. And we were taught that when we came to pick them, we should say their name before we picked them. And we also returned any unused plant materials back to the earth. And when I did these things, I noticed that it felt right. It felt like the right thing to do. I felt good and I slowed down and I became more in touch with nature and what was happening in the moment. So later when I moved to the UK, I'm running my own foraging courses, and I hesitated to mention this sort of knowledge because I thought maybe people might think it's too out there or too woo-woo. But I've come to realize that this is information that the world needs at the moment, is how to revere and respect plants and nature. So foraging can involve the mind, body, and spirit. The picture here is of pickled ash keys. So the seeds are called keys, and they're just on some rice cakes with some cheese and plum relish. Of course, if you're vegan, you don't need to have the cheese in there. So I also started reading this book, Braiding Sweetgrass, by Dr. Robin Wall Kimmerer. And it's an absolute fantastic book. If you haven't read it already, make sure you do check it out. I'm going to put a link in at the end for this book. So Robin has European and Anishinaabe ancestry. She's a member of the Potawatomi Nation, and she's also a professor and director at the Center for Native Peoples and the Environment in New York. And what she talks about in this book, I found similarities between the Maori way of harvesting and respecting and treating plants and the Anishinaabe from America. Right. Also, there's a podcast called Ologies, and Robin Wall Kimmerer speaks about combining Indigenous culture and intuition with Western science. And she talks about medicine wheels and the four different components as part of them as ways of understanding the world. So generally, if we look at world from a scientific perspective, which is great, it's usually mostly mental, or if you're lucky, physical. But Robin Wall Kimmerer talks about, the native ways of looking at the world, especially plants. You can incorporate spiritual aspects and emotional aspects in there too. And I think that medicine wheels show how we can learn to relate to plants when we're foraging, and not just plants, possibly everything. So I came up with a list of ways I could forage in a mindful and respectful way, drawing lessons from Indigenous cultures. And I'd like to share what I've learned with you. But also, I'd love to hear if you already have a mindful way that you forage. I mean, you might not call it that, but if you do something when you are out picking that makes you stop before you just sort of pick without thinking, I'd love to hear what you do. So yeah, join the conversation and just pop that in the chat and we can talk about it afterwards. This is a basket full of hazelnuts and walnuts. So why mindful foraging? You'll feel good when you forage, and it's moving away from, I guess, ways of exploiting and extracting without thinking, and more towards nurturing gentle and wise ways with plants, which I think we really need now. Plants respond to attention and love, so a lot of plants actually need to be picked to grow better, so that's another way. You'll discover that people are part of nature, not separate from it. And it's a way to slow down and practice mindfulness in your daily life. So this is some slow cordial I made and on buckwheat pancakes, and I'll put the recipe for that and at the end. So reciprocity. So Robin talks about how we've been given gifts, and for example, you're really good at playing piano, or you're really good at foraging, or helping your children learn anything. If we have a gift, it's our duty, she says, to actually use that. When we use our gift to give back, that's the sort of reciprocity that she's talking about. Basically, everything in life that we have, plants there, and the berries that they give us, they're all gifts. So if we decide to take these gifts, then she says it's our responsibility to give back. And I'm going to talk about ways that we can give back in a moment. So I just got a really nice quote from Robin. Attention is the doorway to gratitude, the doorway to wonder, and the doorway to reciprocity. Beautiful. So she also speaks of the honourable harvest, which is reciprocity between humans and the living world. So she suggests never take the first plant that you see, which I find really interesting. Also, we can remember that plants don't belong to us. They're for other animals and birds and insects and other creatures. If you take without permission, it's also known as stealing. So she's just talking about if you don't ask the plant and you just take, which I quite often do, to be honest, but I'm learning not to do that. So if you want to join me on this journey, you're welcome. I'm trying to get better at doing this all the time. Share with others, share your harvest with others, and take without causing damage, and leave a gift. You could, write a song for the plant, why not? Give it some fertilizer and your respect. So that's the honourable harvest that she speaks about in her book. And this is my list that I've come up with. Of course, it's not like, I'm not sure if it will work for you, but it's just something that I am trying to work to at the moment. So give it a go if you like. So give the plant your attention. You can ask before you start to forage from it. If it says no, then don't take from it. I'm going to cover that in a little bit more detail in the next slide. Remember to say thank you for whatever you are given from the plant, the blackberry, whatever. The plant has spent a lot of time and energy making the little berry that you've got once you've picked it. Notice, what does the plant need? Does it need some water? Does it need some weeding around the base, or pruning of dead branches? Or maybe there's a lot of litter or rubbish around the area that you could pick up. Obviously, at the moment with Corona, you would want to be careful there doing that. Not suggesting that you do it, but if you did want to do it, you have to wear gloves and all of that. And return any material that you don't use to the earth, or compost it. Or you can even spread the seeds around for the plant so that it can grow in different places. So how to ask? So, if you'd like to say it out loud, you're welcome to say it out loud, but people might think, they're a bit mad. But you can even just say in your head, to the plant that you would like to harvest from, Yarrow, may I take you to make medicine for myself? So you're just saying the plant's name and then what you're going to do with it. But it's totally fine to do it in your head. You don't have to say it out loud. Just do whatever works for you. And then how to actually listen to when the plant is speaking to you. You can use your intuition, or you can just use your attention and your eyes to look around the plant and see, does this plant have enough to offer you? Is it a small plant? Well, obviously you can't harvest from it. It doesn't have enough to give, but maybe it needs some water, or, just in that way. So now we have some ideas about how we can give back to nature, and we're starting to think about reciprocity. we're about to go foraging and meet our first tree, but first, just to let you know, that's beetroot risotto with rose bay willow herbs flowers on top. They're out at the moment, and ground elder chopped up like parsley. So safety and law. So I have to cover this, but this is very important. So when you eat a plant for the first time, do start with a small piece and nibble it a little bit, and then leave that on your tongue and see how that feels. So if it feels a little bit burny or just not right, then spit it out and don't eat anymore. If it feels okay, then you can have a little bit more, but then don't eat anymore for that day, and don't try any more of it until the next day, and then you can try a little bit more, and so on. You don't want to, when you try a plant for the first time, you don't want to go out and eat a whole bowl of it or something like that, because it is possible that people can have an allergy to a plant that is edible, but allergies can be quite personal. Of course, only eat plants that you're 100% sure of what they are, and you want to harvest from clean areas when you're foraging. So not by graveyards because of the chemicals used in embalming, not by busy roads. Make sure you do some research on the history of the area that you forage in, and away from any areas, like forage high above any areas that dogs can wee or cat can wee, or polluted areas. These flowers here are rose bay willow herb flowers, and the leaves. So make sure you have permission as well. So to forage on public land, that's fine, but if you are on private land, you must ask for permission. Most people are happy to help, so don't be afraid to ask. If you forage on public lands, you just have to keep the roots of the plants in the ground. And think about sustainability. So only take what you need and save some for other people and animals, insects, etc. So poisonous plants. So this is not to scare you. This is just to make you aware that there are many plants out there that are poisonous. They'll make you very sick, and some will kill you. So you just need to be aware and respect all plants and know exactly what it is that you're eating. So the plant on the left is ragwort, and in the middle is dog's mercury, and then we have bittersweet on the right. Okay, so I've got a video. I'm hoping that it works. Right. Hopefully that worked for you. Okay, so this is hawthorn, Crataegus monogyna. You can identify it by the white 5-petaled flowers and the leaves that look like they have little notches taken out of them. And we can have a look at the leaves a little bit closer in the next slide, I think it is. And also there are thorns on this plant. And red berries are called haws, and it's in the rose family. These are the leaves. And you can eat the young leaves in spring in a salad. You can use the flowers, you can make a cordial, or you can put them into a hand-rolled sushi or frozen in ice cubes. They're really beautiful if you do that. The flowers I have in this shot are not actually hawthorn flowers, they're cherry blossoms, but you can use them in the same way. Let me just go through what hand-rolled sushi is. So we would make this, when I lived in Japan, it's just an easier way of making sushi, so you don't actually use like a rolling mat or anything. You just buy your nori or your seaweed, and you cut it into 4 pieces. I'll show you what happens. Yeah, so you've got your little square, and you put your sushi rice on top and then your toppings on top of that. And it's just so easy. And you can put your forage finds in there. I think that one's got pickled herring in it and some, like an omelette chopped up finely, spring onions, and pickled dandelion root. Oh, that one's got a gorse flower in it. Right, so just to be aware of, hawthorn berries work with the heart and the circulation system. So they're very good at providing circulation to the extremities, like your hands and your toes. But you need to be aware, if you're on any heart medication, then you don't want to be using this plant. Also, the berries can reduce your blood pressure, to be aware of that. And the seeds are poisonous, so don't eat them, and not recommended for pregnant or breastfeeding women. You can make a relish out of these berries, and it's really good. Or you could make a fruit leather. So a fruit leather, just in case you're not sure about what that is, it is you basically mush all the fruits that you have, your forage fruits. So it might be blackberry with some apples or something, or hawthorn berries, and you cook them up, and you can put a little bit of sugar in, and then you press them through a sieve to get all the seeds out, because you don't want to eat the seeds. And then you lay it out flat on like a dehydrated tray or some baking paper first, and then you dry it out, and it becomes like a chewy fruit with the texture of leather, and they're really a really delicious snack. Or you can also put them into gin with some sugar and gin, and you can make a jelly. Right, so this is the recipe for hawthorn relish, which John Renstein has actually said that I could use. So yeah, feel free to take a screenshot of that and make it at a later time. It's really, really delicious little relish or chutney. Right, so I've got another video here. Okay, so this is elder, and that was elderberry vinegar, as you saw, Sambucus niger. And the berries can be used to make a chutney, elderberry vinegar, which I highly recommend that you try that. It's hopefully the video showed you that it's really easy to make. We could pop the berries into a fruit leather mixed with other berries or fruit. Just to be aware that all the other parts of the plant are poisonous, so their leaves, but not the flowers and the cooked berries. So the flowers and cooked berries are fine, but you don't want to be eating any other part of that plant. So almost at the end now. These are my references. I'm actually going to give you this document later so you can have a look at that. And these are some books that I've read that I really recommend. Breeding Sweetgrass, obviously I've talked about. Edible City. This book here is mostly based on London foraging, but I've found that a lot of the plants that are in this book are also in Stirling in Scotland, so I think you'd be totally fine with that book. And also a little guide that I found was really helpful as a beginner, guide to foraging the top 25 edible plants. It's a laminated guide that you can take out with you, and it folds out, and it's got the poisonous plants as well as the top 25 edible ones. So that's from the Field Studies Council. I think I also put a link to that document in another document, which I will give you at some point. All right, so if you want to know more, you can follow me on Instagram. That's my handle there. Or have a look at my website, investinplants.com. I'm also doing one-to-one Zoom calls if you wanted to book one of those in on my website as well. And I just want to say a big thank you, especially to Transition Stirling. Do have a look at their tool library, because that's how I made some fruit leathers. They've got a great dehydrator. As you can see there on the right, they've also got a fruit press and a whole bunch of other tools that are really helpful for all your foraging needs. That Maslin pan, I didn't actually know what that was and I had to look that up, but it's a big pan for making jams, I think. Hopefully that's right, Chris. Yeah, so.
Yeah, that's correct. We also have a reasonably new acquisition, which is a pasteurizer as well. So if you're making apple juices, you can pasteurize it so that it will last longer.
How fantastic. So yeah, thank you for coming along and sharing this space. Thank you for Transition Stirling. Thank you to Robin Will Kimmerer, Pat McGowan and John Renston, and Nature, of course. I also used Canva and some great fonts, and I used quick video editing software. So I did talk about some freebies at the start. So how will I share those with people? I will copy them, copy the link, and I'll figure out how to share those in a minute. Let me go back. Maybe you want to do a screenshot at the moment.
I could always email the links out to people if that's easier.
Yeah, yeah. And if anyone has any questions, thank you for listening. I will just stop screen sharing as well.
Good, thank you for that. We've been having a few things in the chat there. It's nice to see that a few people are already asking permission before they're taking
Great.
so that's really good. I mean, it's something that again, I'm not very good at doing, but it's something since I've heard of it, it's something that I know I should be doing. It is important.
Yeah, I don't want people to feel bad if they're not doing it already, because I wasn't. It's just something to think about, and if it feels right for you, then have a go.
Yeah. So I'll just go through the chat here. So Alison said, I tune into the plant, say its name, and ask permission before I harvest. I often ask if it has a message for me. That's really nice.
Wow, that's beautiful. Oh, I'm going to try that. I'd love to hear what message it has.
David Chapman says, the only experience I have is picking wild blackberries and raspberries with the kids, but it's the start. I think that's where most foragers start, really.
Oh, people are already following. Alison said that she's following the reciprocity code as well. Fantastic.
Yeah. I would say, just going back one to David there, I would say get yourself a good field guide like the ones that Angelique mentioned there. There's a good one. And then there's a cracking little book called Food for Free, which is a tiny little Collins gem book, very inexpensive. Every time you go out, try and learn one more new plant.
I really like what, I'm not sure if I'm saying it, Morticia was saying how she raised her kids as animists. That's so great. And they've all learned to ask permission and accept the answers they receive. I really wish that I had been raised in that way. That's fantastic. Yep, sushi looks amazing. Yep, totally, you can make it. It's so easy. Wish I was closer. Your range of tools. Oh, to Stirling. Your range of tools is amazing. The illustrations are by me. It's really fun to do those.
There are libraries of things popping up all over the place as well. So check out your local area. I mean, I don't know where you are, Alison, but there's quite a few in Scotland. There's one in Edinburgh, and I know I was at a conference last year now actually, and they are libraries of things are really popping up all over the place. So do look out for that.
Max was asking, Do you have any tips for picking nettles when foraging? So I'm not sure if you're talking about like not getting stung. You can wear gloves, and I wear gloves and scissors. Um, but maybe if you're talking about when to pick them, spring is the best time before they flower and go to seed. So I wouldn't be picking them at the moment. Spring's the best time.
Later in the year, you can use the seeds as well.
Yeah, for sure. Um, for hawthorn, should we always strain the boiled fruit to get rid of the seeds? Um, yeah, I mean, sometimes I make a tea and I just I just leave the berries in with the seeds. Like you can mash them up, but they're not so poisonous that you have to be really afraid of them. But just take them out if you just don't want to eat the seeds.
Alison was also asking who the illustrations are by. They're by yourself, right?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's really fun to do those. I need to do more of it. Can you send the? Yes, I will send the details of those books. Oh, Carolyn wrote, I made elderberry syrup yesterday with ginger and cloves. Oh, wow. So relaxing, stripping the berries, and the smell was gorgeous and a whip. Wow. It sounds like a book. Great for colds, flu, boosting immune system. Lovely. Okay. I will have to try that with ginger and cloves. That sounds amazing. Yeah, thank you. Were there any other questions at all? Otherwise, I'll see if I can find that document.
We had a question from Gazelle.
Hi, Angelique. I really enjoy your session. Thank you so much. I would like to know, you pointed out that one of Robin's advices is not to pick from the first plant. Is that to make sure that there are plenty of them, or is there other reasons?
Well, I believe it's to so that you walk past and there will be another one. So you're always making sure that there's at least one plant there that you haven't touched. So yeah, she talks about leaving 50% as well of whatever you're harvesting. Yeah, I mean, I'm going on about it, but it's just absolutely amazing, this book. And it's relaxing as well. And the way that she writes is so amazing and poetic. And also she has, I think she's on Audible, so you can listen to her, and her voice is just amazing.
Oh, I'd love doing the same in a little walk lockdown and learn the plants, and really interested in recognizing them and see them to grow. I noticed as well some of the first hazel nuts are coming through as well. So in a few months' time, they're going to be on. I'm going to fight the squirrels for them. I'm going to ask the squirrels if I can fight them before I do so, though. But
Great.
yeah, I mean, there's mushroom season is starting soon as well. You've got to be very careful with the mushrooms, like absolutely identify them 100%. 99.999% isn't enough. But I found recently a massive bloom of oyster mushrooms out in the woods, and it was incredible. So mushrooms are coming in. But hawthorns, well worth doing something with the hawthorns. I made a jelly last year, and I'm definitely doing that again. Rose hips are coming through, so rose hip cordials are something that's going to be nice to make soon, and got to cook those through as well.
So just an answer to Lauren's question, I haven't got any sessions booked in at the moment, but I definitely will be doing some. If you want to work with me, though, you can book in a one-to-one Zoom on my website. That's to sort of advance your foraging.
Yeah, and yeah, check out the website. It's a very nice website, that, and have a look at your local group. Maybe there's a foraging group or some Facebook groups that you can join. Check out other workshops. I'm sure we'll be running another one with Angelique in the future, if Angelique wants to.
Yes.
But we have another few coming up in the pipeline again as well. Who did the watercolors? Again, Angelique did all the illustrations herself. Yeah.
Great. Okay.
And they'll be available on cards in the future, I think. Is that right?
That's the plan. Yeah. Yeah.
Possibly taking commissions as well, I guess.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much. And if you go away and you think of anything else that you wish you'd have asked, you can either email me through the email address that I gave you, and I can feed those through to Angelique or potentially answer some myself. Check out the website, Invest in Plants. Check out Transition Stirling's website, Facebook group. We have Transition Stirling group community page. There's tons of foragers on there as well, so you could always put things up on there. There's a Stirling plant and seed swap as well. Lots of botanists on there to answer questions, and loads of Facebook, Instagram groups, and the Association of Foragers as well. I'll be sending out an easy in an email with some e-zines from the Association of Foragers. Join them. That's a massive wealth of information. But yeah, thank you very much for joining us, and enjoy the sun and go out and forage and put into practice what you've just learned there.
Okay, bye.